The Colombian national football team represents Colombia in international football competitions and is overseen by the Colombian Football Federation. It is a member of the CONMEBOL and is currently ranked 8th in the FIFA World Rankings, and 5th in Elo World Rankings. Since the mid-1980s, the national team has been a symbol fighting the country's negative reputation. This has made the sport popular and made the national team a sign of nationalism, pride, and passion for many Colombians worldwide. Colombia is known for having a passionate fan base. Colombia had its strongest period during the 1990s. A 1993 match resulted in a 5-0 win over Argentina, which caused a special mutual respect rivalry between both nations. The goalkeeper Eno copyright Higton achieved fame from his eccentric scorpion kick clearance against England at Wembley in 1995. Stars from Colombia's team included Carlos Valderrama and Faustino Asprilla. During this era, Colombia qualified for the 1990, 1994, and 1998 World Cups, only reaching the second round in 1990. Following the death of Andrés Copyright Escobar after the 1994 World Cup, Colombia's team faded in the latter half of the 1990s. They were the champions of the 2001 Copa América Copyright Rica, which they hosted and set a new Copa America record of conceding no goals and winning each match. Prior to that success, they were runners-up to Peru in the 1975 Copa América Copyright Rica. In total, Colombia has gained a top 4 result in 7 Copa Americas. Colombia was the first team to win FIFA Best Mover in 1993, where the achievement was first introduced, and the second team after Croatia to win it twice in 2012. Colombia missed 3 World Cups between 2002 to 2010. However, during the 2014 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, Colombia showed improvement since the 2011 Copa America, bringing its rank within the top 10 for the first time since 2002 and into the top 5 consistently for the first time since 2004. After a 16-year-long wait, Colombia finally returned to the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Former midfielder Marcos Coll is the only player in history to score an Olympic goal in a FIFA World Cup, in the 1962 FIFA World Cup against the USSR. The match finished in a 4-4 tie after a spectacular comeback by Colombia from 4-1 to draw the match, making it the biggest comeback in World Cup history. The team are nicknamed Los Cafeteros due to the coffee production in their country. History. Early years. Colombia played its first official matches at the 1938 Central American and Caribbean Games. The Colombian national football team was composed mostly by all the players of the Club Juventud Bogotana. Alfonso Novo was the manager of Colombia until February 23. The first game was played on February 10, 1938 against Mexico. Colombia was defeated 1-3. Luis Aga Quarterels, Luis de la Fuente and Horacio Casra scored for Mexico, Marcos Majaya scored for Colombia. Colombia was able to obtain the bronze medal, with 2 wins and 3 losses. The same year Colombia played at the Bolivarian Games in Bogotá, where they were 4th with 1 win and 3 losses. Fernando Paternoster was the manager of Colombia, being the first foreign manager of the team. Colombia did not play again until 1945, when they participated for the first time at the South American Championship, where they were 5th. This time, Colombia was composed by players of Junior de Barranquilla, except for Antonio de la Hoz, who played for Sporting de Barranquilla, and Pedro Ricardo La Cubed Pez, who played for Boca Juniors de Cali. Roberto Mella Copyright Mendez was player and coach of Colombia throughout the tournament. The first match of Colombia in the professional era was played on April 6 in the 1949 South American Championship, a 3-0 defeat against Paraguay. The Austrian coach Friedrich von Ehrenfeld was the manager of Colombia during the tournament. He had moved with his family to Colombia due to the Second World War, and Atla Copyright Tico Jr. would be his first team as a coach. As Jr. was chosen to represent Colombia in the tournament, he became the first European manager of the Colombia national team. However, the team repeated their losing streak since, as in the previous tournament, ended 8th with 2 draws and 5 losses, scoring 4 goals. After a withdrawal in 1938 and getting banned in 1954, Colombia participated for the first time in qualifying for the 1958 FIFA World Cup in Sweden. Their first match was on June 16, 1957 against Uruguay in Bogotá, that ended in a 1-1 draw. Colombia lost their next matches, leaving them at the bottom of the group. At the 1962 World Cup, Colombia lost their first match 2-1 against Uruguay. Luis Cubilla and Jorge Sasa scored for Uruguay at the 56th and 75th minute respectively, while Francisco Zuluaga scored a 19th-minute penalty goal for Colombia. In the second match they got a 4-4 draw with the Soviet Union, champions of the 1960 European Nations Cup. It should be noted that in this game, Colombia scored 4 goals against Soviet goalkeeper Lev Yashin, widely considered the best goalkeeper in football history. Also in that game, Marcos Cole scored the only Olympic goal in World Cup history so far. Unfortunately, the Colombian campaign in 1962 ended with a 5-0 defeat against Yugoslavia, who end up in 4th place in the tournament. 1990's golden era, at Italia 90, Colombia defeated United Arab Emirates 2-0, lost to Yugoslavia 1-0, and earned their place in the round of 16 after a dramatic 1-1 draw with West Germany, which would later win the cup. During their round of 16 match against Cameroon, the game went into extra time after a 0-0 draw. In an unfortunate moment, goalkeeper Rena Copyright Higta failed to protect the ball 35 yards from the goal line, enabling Cameroon striker Roger Milla to snatch it from him, and score Cameroon's decisive second goal. Milla struck twice, giving Cameroon a 2-0 lead in extra time. Colombia would score in the 115th minute, but were unable to get an equalizer. For the 1994 FIFA World Cup, Colombia finished top of their qualifying group without having lost a match, which included a historic 5-0 win over Argentina in Buenos Aires. Expectations of the team were high, some even naming them as favorites to win the tournament. The match between Colombia and Romania was the first game for either side in the group phase. Romania took the lead in the 16th minute with their first attack of the match when Ray Desailly took on 3 defenders before firing home a low shot. On the half-hour mark, Higuaín made it 2-0 when he noticed Kakuba Doba out of position and dipped a cross over his head into the net. Valencia pulled a goalbacks for the Colombians in the 43rd minute when he headed in a corner from Perez. In the second half, Ray Desailly put the result beyond doubt with his second goal in the final few minutes. The team went into their second group game against the United States knowing they had to win to have any chance of progressing. On the 35th minute André Copyright Escobar attempted to cut out a cross but accidentally deflected the ball into his own net. Ernie Stewart took the U.S. 2 goals in front after scoring in the 56th minute. Valencia scored a consolation goal for Colombia in the closing minutes of the match. They did win their final group match 2-0 over Switzerland, but it was not enough to help them progress. For the 1998 FIFA World Cup, Colombia began their qualification rounds in South America well and ended in 3rd place with 28 points, 2 points below Argentina who was in 1st place with 30 points. They ended in Group G with Tunisia, England, and Romania. In their opening match, Adrian Ili of Valencia CF gave Romania a 1-0 victory over Colombia after he placed a magnificent chip shot in the 44th minute from some 15 yards that sailed over goalkeeper Farid Mondragon then into the net. Colombia's second match was against Tunisia. Colombia's Lider Preciado struck 7 minutes from the end to give a 1-0 win. Although England needed only a draw to guarantee a place in the final 16, Darren Anderton drove home a fiercely struck angled drive in the 20th minute. David Beckham curled in a 30-yard free kick 9 minutes later and England won the game 2-0. Colombia was thus eliminated. Colombia's exit at France '98 marked the end of an era, as many expected, but one last moment of glory came at Copa Arma Copyright Rica 2001. The Copa Arma Copyright Rica in 2001 was held in Colombia, from 11 to July 29. It was organized by CONMEBOL, South America's football governing body. Prior to the tournament, 3 meetings were held by CONMEBOL authorities who were concerned about potential security issues in Colombia, for what Venezuela offered to host the competition. At the last minute, CONMEBOL decided to return the organization to Colombia, and the tournament was held on schedule. Complaining for the sudden decision, and claiming that Argentine players had received death threats from terrorist groups, the Argentine Football Association decided to withdraw from the competition. Because Canada and Argentina withdrew, on 6 and 10 July respectively, Honduras and Costa Rica were invited. There were no terrorist incidents within the competition. Colombia was placed in Group A with Venezuela, Chile, and Ecuador, and they finished on top of the group with 9 points. Hosts Colombia won their first Copa América title by beating Mexico in Bogotá. Their captain Ivo Nkarquddoba scored the decisive goal early in the second half with a header from a free kick. It was a fairy tale success for Colombia after the decision to go ahead with the tournament after it had initially been cancelled. Even the fact that Argentina, regarded by most observers as the strongest side in the region, elected not to take part and that most countries fielded weakened teams failed to dampen the celebrations in Bogotá. It was also noted the following year that Brazil was then considered to be the strongest in the region at the time following their 2002 FIFA World Cup victory, thus making the event legit. This is also credited to the fact that Argentina failed to make it out of the group stage at the 2002 World Cup. Depression era. For Korea-Japan 2002, hopes were high for Colombia, but a weak attack and internal turmoil crushed their hopes. Colombia only managed to place 6th in the qualification round. Uruguay and Colombia have both 27 points, but due to goal difference, Uruguay advanced to the playoffs with Australia. Colombia would also eventually fail to qualify for the 2006 edition in Germany as well. Colombia failed to qualify for the 2010 FIFA World Cup, mainly because their constant change of formations and struggles to score goals in the last games of the qualification. He played an exhibition match against South Africa a month before the World Cup started, which they lost 2-1. The game was the first soccer match played in the recently built Soccer City Stadium in Johannesburg, South Africa. All 3 goals of the match were scored by penalty kicks, and the match was highly criticized because both of the South Africa penalty kicks did not seem to be fouls at all, and because of the reported partiality of the referee towards the South Africa team. Another exhibition match was played in England against Nigeria, a match that ended in a 1-1 draw. Both matches were the first ones that coach Fernando Paternoster directed after his designation and return to Colombia's coaching. With a 2-0 win over Venezuela, and a 1-0 win against Ecuador, they wanted success over USA. In between all that, they lost to Mexico 1-0. Los Cafeteros tied with Peru 1-1 but lost in an action-packed duel against champions Spain 1-0. They successfully defeated Ecuador again 2-0 but suffered a 2-0 defeat to Chile in March even after many goal attempts. Colombia had beaten Honduras 2-0 after 2 spectacular goals from Tio, although many fans complain games such as this one aren't testing their full potential. In Fort Lauderdale, Colombia beat Jamaica 2-0 with Jackson Martinez and Tio scoring to test Lionel Alvarez's side as a coach. A new golden generation. In Copa América 2011, Colombia showed great skill beating Costa Rica 1-0 goal given by Adrian Ramos thanks to an assist by Freddy Guerin. Colombia with an epic match against Argentina dominating the game almost entirely, although suffered by their weakness in goal scoring, thus ending 0-0. Finally, they crushed Bolivia 2-0, both goals by Radamel Falcao, one by penalty. This resulted in shocking the host nation Argentina, who were favorites to win the group. After that, they confronted Peru with high expectations. Before extra time, Falcao was given a penalty only to miss by a wide shot and forcing into extra time. Colombia lost 2-0 after a mistake by defenders. Mario Yepes had accidentally tripped goalkeeper Neco Martinez, who conceded no goals up to this point, allowing Peruvian player Carlos Lobato cubed in a clear shot. Martinez later had mistakenly kicked the ball to Juan Manuel Vargas, who sealed the victory for Peru. The Colombian side started very well in their FIFA World Cup 2014 qualifications by beating Bolivia 2-1 in La Paz, and a difficult match versus Venezuela that ended 1-1 in Barranquilla, Colombia. Colombia then lost to Argentina 1-2 after losing both star players Falcao and Guerra due to injuries. Colombia's manager Leonel Alvarez was sacked after the loss, after being on the job for barely 3 months. Colombian legend Carlos Valderrama criticized the Colombian Soccer Federation for firing Alvarez prematurely. By the beginning of 2012, Jose Pa Kerman became the new coach of the national team. In early 2012, Colombia showed great skill, defeating 2011 Golden Cup winners Mexico 2-0 in what was Pa Kerman's first friendly, where he took control of the game almost entirely. However, Pa Kerman then experimented with a new system, barely granting Colombia a 1-0 over Peru and then leading to a shocking 0-1 loss to Ecuador, sending Colombia out of the qualifying range. However, Colombia bounced back with a shocking win, crashing Copa America winners Uruguay 4-0, ending their undefeated streak since the 2010 World Cup. Some commentators believed Barranquilla's heat was the cause of such a big win, though Los Cafeteros once again showed their skill by beating Chile from a goal down 1-3 in another shock, this time in an away victory. Colombia won a comfortable 2-0 home victory against Paraguay during the qualifiers, ending the first half of the CONMEBOL qualification. A few days later, Pa Kerman removed some of their star players for a friendly experiment with Cameroon, winning another home victory in a 3-0 result. In an epic duel with 2014 World Cup hosts Brazil, Colombia scored first in a game that ended 1-1. For their first match of 2013, Pa Kerman had another successful experiment in a 4-1 win against Guatemala, using most of his subs before allowing the normal starters to play. Continuing the second half the CONMEBOL qualifiers, Colombia enjoyed a comfortable 5-0 win over Bolivia. However, Colombia suffered days later in a shocking 1-0 loss to Venezuela at an away game, where head coach Jose Pa Kerman proposed a different formation. In the match against South American leaders Argentina, Colombia played a very controversial match, where both teams were red-carded a player in the first half, and 8 yellow cards were called, leading to a difficult goalless draw. Days later, Colombia dominated Peru in a 2-0 victory. In the next round, Colombia managed to defeat Ecuador at home 1-0, but lost to Uruguay days later 2-0, in a game where at least a draw would have qualified them into the World Cup. Colombia then had yet another successful friendly experiment against Serbia, managing to win 1-0 with a late goal. In the following match against Chile on October 11, Colombia shockingly gave up 3 goals in the first 30 minutes, but came back with 3 goals of their own after Jose Pekerman made crucial sub-changes into the second half. That eventually influenced a Chilean red card within the next 15 minutes as well, thus allowing them to tie the game and qualify for the World Cup for the first time in 16 years. Days later, Colombia topped off their qualification against Paraguay, where they gave up an early goal to Paraguay and then had a man sent off with a red card, but got 2 goals from their longtime captain Yepes to win the game 2-1 and finish second in the group with 30 points. Colombia then ended 2013 with a 0-2 victory over Belgium and a 0-0 draw against the Netherlands. Colombia started 2014 off in a 1-1 experiment against Tunisia, making it the first match without the currently injured Radamel Falcao, where first-choice keeper David Ospina made a mistake with Tunisia's goal. An experimental Colombia drew 2-2 with Senegal, where both teams were down to 10 men in the second half after Colombia gave up a 2-0 lead. Colombia's final experiment before the World Cup ended favorably with a 3-0 result over Jordan. 2014 World Cup, Colombia topped off their return in the 2014 World Cup after a 16-year absence by defeating Greece 3-0. Colombia then edged a 2-1 victory over Ivory Coast to dispute Group C's top spot days later. On the same day, Japan and Greece drew 0-0 and automatically qualified Colombia to the round of 16 for the first time in 24 years since the 1990 edition of the World Cup. In its final group stage game, Colombia defeated Japan 4-1, to win Group C and become the third South American team to go 3-0 in group stage in World Cup history. Colombia went on to defeat Uruguay 2-0 on June 28, 2014 in the knockout round, securing a spot in the quarter-finals for the first time in their history. Colombia fell to the host country Brazil 2-1 in the quarter-final round in controversy, where media and figures such as Diego Maradona criticized FIFA and Carlos Valesco Carballo for favoring Brazil and being biased in disallowing a goal from Mario Yepes and allowing too many fouls by the Brazilians to occur without any yellow cards being shown. Despite the elimination, the national team was greeted by tens of thousands of Colombians in Bogotá, Colombia, welcoming them back as heroes and restoring pride to the nation. Schedule and results. AAAA a win, AAAA a draw, AAAA a loss. 2013, 2014, rivalries. With political issues with history-culture-related nations Ecuador and Venezuela, Colombia has always taken interest. While Colombia has natural rival matches with neighbors Ecuador and Venezuela, the matches aren't as popular as the rival matches against Argentina. The historical victory for Colombia in 1993 beating host Argentina in the 1993 World Cup qualifiers was the very first time Argentina lost in its home stadium Estadio Monumental Antonio Vespucio Liberty during a qualifying match for a World Cup. An impressive 5-0 victory. Many figures such as Diego Maradona expected Argentina to crush Colombia entirely, especially when Argentina were previous two-time FIFA World Cup winners. Thus, it caused a huge upset and start of a respective rivalries. Unlike other rivalries full of hostility, the Colombian-Argentinian rivalry is more based on respect than a hated relationship, always attracting great interest between both nations, evidenced by the applauding Argentinian crowd after Colombia's 5-0 victory, proving the respect for Colombia. Thus the Colombian-Argentinian rivalry has been considered unique and special. In a way, the Colombian-Argentinian relationship is viewed as sparring partners in world football. Players, current squad. The following 23 players were named for the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Caps and goals updated as July 4, 2014 after the match against Brazil. Recent call-ups. The following players have been recently called up in the last 12 months. Individual records. As of July 4, 2014,